How dreadful knowledge of the truth can be when there's no hope in truth. Oedipus the King, circa 429 BCE, Sophocles. In context, focused classical Greek drama. Before, circa 7th century BCE, dithyrambs, song and dance entertainments by a chorus are performed in honor of Dionysus in Delos and Athens. Circa 532 BCE, Thespis, considered to be the first actor, plays on stage playing a role in a drama. Circa 500 BCE, Plotinus introduces satyr plays, a satirical genre. 458 BCE, Aeschylus' Oresteia, the only trilogy of the classical period to have survived intact, is first performed in Athens. 431 BCE, Euripides' Medea introduces a realism that shocks audiences. After 423 BCE, Aristophanes' comedy The Cloud satirizes the social scene in Athens, and in particular Socrates. With the revolt that overthrew the last tyrant king in 510 BCE and the establishment of a form of democracy, the city-state of Athens ushered in the era of classical Greece. For 2 centuries, Athens was not only a center of political power in the region, but also a hotbed of intellectual activity that fostered an extraordinary flowering of philosophy, literary culture, and art, which was to have a profound influence on the development of Western civilization. Classical Greek culture was dominated by the achievements of Athenian thinkers, artists, and writers who developed aesthetic values of clarity, form, and balance, principles that were epitomized by classical architecture. A human-centered view also influenced the development of a contemporary new literary form, drama, which evolved from religious performances by a chorus in honor of the god Dionysus. Sophocles. Sophocles was born circa 496 BCE in Colonus. He showed an early aptitude for music, and through this became interested in the art of drama, encouraged and perhaps trained by the innovative tragedian Aeschylus. With his first entry theater contest at 468 BC, he won first prize from the reigning champion Aeschylus, and he soon became the most celebrated tragedian of his generation. In all, he wrote more than 120 plays, of which only a handful survived intact. Sophocles was also a respected member of Athens society and was appointed a treasurer in Pericles' government and later as a military commander. He married twice, and both his son Eopson and grandson Sophocles followed in his footsteps as playwrights. Shortly before his death at 406 BC, he finished his final play, Oedipus at Colonus, which was produced posthumously by his grandson. Other key words: circa 441 BCE, Antigone; circa 429 BCE, Oedipus the King; circa 409 BCE, Electra. The birth of drama. By the beginning of the classical era, religious performances had changed from essentially musical ceremonies to something more like drama as we know it today, with the addition of characters to play the part of the characters in the story, rather than simply narrating. This new form of entertainment was enormously popular and formed the focal point of an annual festival in Dionysia, which was held over several days in a custom-built open-air theater that attracted audiences of up to 15,000 people. Writers submitted work to be performed at the festival in the form of a trilogy of tragedies, followed by a comic play, and competed for prestigious prizes. 3 dramatists dominated the prize winners list for much of the 5th century BCE. Aeschylus, circa 525 to 524 to 456, 455 BCE, Euripides, 484 to 406 BCE, and Sophocles, 496 to 406 BCE. Their contribution, which amounted to several hundred plays, set a definitive standard for the art of tragedy. Aeschylus, as the earliest of the 3 great tragedians, is generally considered the innovator, initiating many of the conventions associated with the form. He is credited with expanding the number of actors in his plays and having them interact in dialogue which introduced the idea of dramatic conflict. Where formerly the chorus had presented the action of the drama, the actors now took center stage, and the chorus took on the role of setting the scene and commenting on the actions of the characters. The move toward a greater realism was sustained by Euripides, who further reduced the role of the chorus and presented more three-dimensional characters with more complex interaction. Delphi's theater had three spaces: the stage, the orchestra or chorus in front, and the amphitheater. It was built in the 4th century BCE and could seat about 5,000 people. Breaking with convention. Of the three great dramatists, it is Sophocles whose tragedies have come to be regarded as the high point of classical Greek drama. Sadly, only 7 of the 123 tragedies he wrote have survived, but of these, perhaps the finest is Oedipus the King. The play was one of 3 written by Sophocles about the mythical king of Thebes, the others being Oedipus, Calonus, and Antigone, known collectively as the Theban plays. Breaking with the convention of presenting tragedies and trilogies established by Aeschylus, Sophocles conceived each of these as a separate entity, and they were written and produced several years apart and out of chronological order. In Oedipus the King, often referred to instead by its Latinized title, Oedipus Rex, Sophocles created what is now regarded as the epitome of classical Athenian tragedy. The play follows the established formal structure, a prologue followed by the introduction of the characters and the unfolding of plot through a series of episodes interspersed with commentary from the chorus leading to a choral exodus or conclusion. Within this framework, Sophocles uses his own character interaction and enable a more complex plot, creating the psychological tension synonymous with the word drama today. Typically, a tragedy of this sort was the story of a hero suffering a misfortune that leads to his undoing, traditionally at the hands of the gods or fate. As classical tragedy developed, however, the hero's reversal of fortune was increasingly portrayed as a result of a frailty or fault in the character of the protagonist, the fatal flaw. In Oedipus the King, both fate and character play their part in the tragic events. The character of Oedipus is also far from black and white. At the beginning of the play, he appears as the respected ruler of Thebes, whom the people turn to rid them of a curse. But as the plot unfolds, his unwitting involvement in the curse is revealed. This revelation contributes to the atmosphere of foreboding that was characteristic of the best classical tragedies. The sense of doom arose from the fact that many of these stories were already well known as that of Oedipus must have been. Such a situation creates tragic irony when the audience is aware of a character's fate and witnesses his unsuspecting progress toward inevitable doom. In Oedipus the King, Sophocles ratchets up this atmosphere of inevitability by introducing various references to prophecies that were made many years before, which both Oedipus and his wife Jocasta have ignored. The story is not so much about the events that led to Oedipus' downfall as about the events that prompt revelations of the significance of his past actions. The greatest griefs are those we cause ourselves. Oedipus the King. Tragedy foretold. The chain of events begins with Thebes stricken by plague. When consulted, the oracle of Delphi says that the plague will abate when the murderer of Laius, the former king of Thebes and the previous husband of Jocasta, is found. Oedipus seeks the advice of the blind prophet Tiresias to find the killer. This puts Tiresias in a difficult position because, although blind, he can see what Oedipus cannot. That Oedipus himself is the unwitting murderer and advises him to let the matter rest. But Oedipus demands the truth and then furiously refuses to believe the prophet's accusation, while Tiresias further reveals that the killer will turn out to be the son of his own wife. A rattled Oedipus recalls a visit to Delphi as a youth, where he had gone to determine his true parentage, having overheard that he had been adopted. Instead, the oracle told him that he would murder his father and marry his mother, so he had fled, journeying toward Thebes. On his way to the city, he had met and killed an older man who barred his way. So the significance of this is not lost in the audience, especially when Sophocles introduces Jocasta, Oedipus' wife and Laius' widow. who comforts Oedipus by arguing that the prophecies are untrue. There was a prophecy that Laius would be killed by his sons, she says, when he was slain by bandits. This information makes clear to the audience that the prophecy given to Oedipus has been self-fulfilling. It prompted him to leave home and set in motion the events that led to the unconsciously killing his own father Laius and becoming king of Thebes in his place with his own mother Jocasta as his wife. The climax is reached as things become clear to Oedipus. He reacts by blinding himself. The chorus, which has throughout the tragedy expressed the inner thoughts and feelings that could not be expressed by the characters themselves, closes the drama by repeating to an empty stage that no man should be considered fortunate until he is dead. An ancient house mosaic depicts masks used in tragedies. Actors often wore masks, some with exaggerating expressions, to help convey the character they were representing. Why should anyone in this world be afraid? Since fate rules us and nothing can be foreseen, a man should live only for the present day. Oedipus the King.